This video is brought to you by Anchor. I've said this before, and I will continue to say it again and again and again, as so many other creators, and more importantly, users have been saying for the past 4 to 5 years, iPadOS is just not a fitting operating system for iPad Pro hardware. It's great for the baseline iPad. It's great for the iPad mini. It's even great for the iPad Air, which just got a decent upgrade with the M2 chip and a bigger size that we've seen with the Pros exclusively for a while. But in terms of iPad Pro hardware, specifically this year with tandem OLED displays, a brand new generation of chip that's first put in the iPad, this is just not it. And I'm not asking for a one-to-one experience to Mac. I don't think a lot of people are, although at this point, I'd rather this run macOS Lite than this. This current state of iPadOS has not only sort of led me to downsize to the 11-inch iPad Pro, the 2024 model, it's also made me reconsider if there's even a point to, upgrading to new hardware as of right now. And if you have a specific workflow, by all means, get a 13-inch or an 11-inch, max it out, you do you. But for me, as somebody who just wants to use it for note-taking here and there, PDF markup, media, entertainment, maybe some gaming here and there, I don't even think you need this. The only reason I have the new 2024 model is because this is my job, and I love doing this. But if I didn't do this, I would opt for, maybe you guessed it, it's probably in the title, the M1 11-inch iPad Pro, or even the 12.9-inch if I needed that. But no, this model, is so similar in so many ways. Granted, you don't have the new OLED display, it's a lot dimmer, and it's technically way less powerful. But even still, you get a pretty close experience, and you get all of the new features that are coming with iPadOS 18 and Apple Intelligence. So in this video, I want to talk about why this is a great value iPad to use or to buy as of 2024, or to hold on to if you already have one. First up, the design is still really great. And yeah, the new 2024 model is noticeably thinner and lighter, and you do have the redesigned camera portion. Is the design different enough to warrant spending a lot of extra money on it? I would not say so. So this still looks and feels great in the hand. It's plenty thin, and it's pretty comparable in terms of thickness to the 11 inches you saw there. This is about 6 millimeters thick, that's 5.3. The 13-inch had a more dramatic, thickness reduction. If that's even a good way to put that. It just got thinner. Thickness reduction is crazy. And it also supports the Apple Pencil 2nd generation, which isn't as advanced as the Apple Pencil Pro, no Find My support, no barrel roll, and there's no pressure sensor, but at least you get, something that magnetically attaches and charges. You cannot say the same about the USB-C pencil with the 10th gen or base iPad, which you literally have to plug in the same way you do with the 1st gen pencil. That's also compatible with it, which should be discontinued by now. We also get Magic Keyboard compatibility, and this accessory is still going to be around because it's compatible with the new iPad Air 11-inch and 13-inch. So if you don't have one of these, you can get one new or used, preferably because it'll be cheaper. You can also get this iPad used as well, but we'll discuss that a little bit later here. So yeah, accessory-wise and also Apple Pencil-wise and design-wise, this iPad Pro is still really decent and not too much different from the newer models. Next up, though, I want to talk about the display here. And just like with design, this aspect keeps up too. Don't get me wrong, it isn't tandem OLED, it's not as bright, and you definitely can notice that, not as contrasty, but color-wise, quality-wise, it's really beautiful. It's also P3 rated, so it's good for creative work. And it is also 120 Hertz, which is double that of the brand new iPad Airs, which just came out, which is a bit of a bummer for iPad Air users, but this is just a Pro feature that's been sort of locked to the Pro line for a few years. So this is not going to change anytime soon, and it's great that you can get it in a more affordable, used or refurbished model like this one here. And the M1 chip pushes the experience really wonderfully as well. No graphical delay or lag or anything. So, you get this really buttery experience, even with an iPad that's a few years old. Even the 2018 iPad Pro is going to push this experience, even though I don't think it gets a lot of the features with iPadOS 18, but we'll talk about that a bit later. It's also great for, I think I said, creative work and also media consumption. Again, pretty bright, color accurate, contrasty, maybe not as good as the previous generation's mini LED display and of course the OLED display, but I mean, for what you're paying for, significantly less than $1,000 that you're gonna be putting towards a new one, it's still great. You're not going to see, you know, much better out there. It's still great in today's 2024 standard with regard to displays. And beyond display quality, with regard to screen real estate, 11 inches is more than enough, as I talked about in my review of the new 11-inch model here. I think you have to justify if you want to get a bigger model. I mean, you do you, go big or go home, but if you really want to be practical, I think your workflow kind of has to justify it if you're sketching, drawing, you know, whatever, or if that's your only computer or device, then maybe get a bigger one. But if you just want the iPad experience, you know, the best iPad Pro experience without breaking the bank, I think that the 11-inch model here is great for split screen and also full screen app use. And it's also great for media consumption, as I mentioned too. As for speaker quality, we have built-in quad speakers here, which, as far as I'm concerned, are better than what you find in the 11-inch iPad Air, even the new one. So I can play a little non-copyrighted music for you here. Oh boy. Yeah, so it's a decent setup for, you know, music production or, you know, less seriously, media consumption, gaming, all of that. So better than the new Air, better than the last gen Air. Not quite as good as what you get with the bigger iPad Pro models, but again here, considering the compactness and the price, it's a pretty decent setup, even though you're probably going to be using AirPods or headphones anyway. And speaking of using other devices, keeping all of them charged, especially your powerful ones like your iPad Pro and Mac, can be a bit of a hassle, which is why you definitely have to check out Anker's Prime charging station. Using a regular power strip with a bunch of different charging adapters is really not convenient, wastes a lot of space, and doesn't look that great. Meanwhile, the Prime charging station takes up just one AC outlet, looks and feels great with a premium build, and delivers an incredible 200 watts of power to your devices. With an equally impressive selection of 6 ports, 4 USB-C and 2 USB-A, you can charge up to 6 devices at once. Better yet, you can split the insane amount of power between 2 of your power-hungry devices, like 2 MacBook Pro 14 inches for example, and charge them both to 50% in just 28 minutes, simultaneously. This is thanks to Anker's advanced, efficient GaN charging technology, and is paired with a built-in multi-protect system that prevents damage to your devices while charging. The Prime charging station is such a great accessory for my own professional usage as well, since I'm always using and referencing power-hungry devices like my MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, iPhone 15 Pro Max, and iPad Pro. And again, the fact that I can just throw them on one charger in my studio or bedroom where I edit and have them rapidly charge all at once is an incredible feature. And at just $79, it is really a great value for your money compared to slower competing chargers and especially a clunky power strip setup. And of course, I'll leave links and other info in the video description if you're interested in checking this product out. Next up though, let's quickly talk about the camera setup here, which is technically better than what you're getting with the new model here, because the old model or models have an ultra wide camera, whereas the new one got rid of that. You also have a LiDAR sensor as well, which is present in the new one, so that's been a feature for a while. And you get a flash, which is nice, unlike what you get on the iPad Air. So it is still a really decent camera setup. Plus, you get a technically bonus camera here. So here's the 1x, here's the 0.5x, which can come in handy if you're taking a picture in sort of an enclosed space or of like a whiteboard or a surface in sort of a tight corner. So it's kind of disappointing that they removed this camera, even though, I mean, I never really used it, and maybe you're more inclined to use your phone for a picture like that. I digress. The camera setup on here is technically the same, if not better, than what you're getting with the new models. So why not go for it? You also, of course, get LiDAR, which can help you if you have a LiDAR specific workflow. So no need to upgrade to the new one because you got LiDAR here as well. But beyond camera performance wise, this iPad is still stellar. The M1 chip is nothing to scoff at. It's also pretty close, if not a little bit more powerful than the A17 Pro and the newest iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max models. That's an important little note for later. But yeah, it's still plenty powerful, not as powerful as the M4 chip or the M2 chip, of course, but you're only really making use of that horsepower if your workflow is very niche and specific and you already know who you are. But if you're not doing anything super powerful or niche on here and you just want to run the iPadOS experience, you certainly can. Again, it's beautiful, it's smooth, it's buttery here. I have multiple apps open. I mean, for note-taking, sketching, multitasking, media consumption, the M1 chip is going to push this experience well for years to come. It also supports external monitor support. This was the first one to do that, or the first chip model chip, Model T. I hope you know A-roll will be the end of me, folks. So yeah, this was the first iPad Pro to support external stage manager, which is a feature on the older models, but you just can't do it on an external display. I hope that iPadOS, works better to make the external stage manager experience better. But it can at least do that. So if you're using this as your all-in-one machine and you kind of want a macOS light experience, again, at least you're not restricted to just the screen size here. So that's nice here. No need to spend an extra amount of money to get that experience. You also get all of the Apple Intelligence features as well in the fall and onward here. As I said, the iPhone 15 Pro Max and Pro are the only iPhones to get that so far. I mean, the new ones definitely will. But yeah, the A17 Pro and the M1 chip are sort of equivalent in performance, so I'm not surprised. So that's good to know that this iPad can still do that. And again, you're getting it for a significantly lower price than if you were buying a brand new one or even a last gen M2 one. So you get all of the iPadOS, 18 features, which I'll go over in a public beta video coming soon here. Not that those are, collectively changing the whole, game plan here, but at least you get them and the Apple Intelligence features, which are really the primary meat and potatoes of the new updates, which I'm actually really excited about. There's the writing oriented things, the Siri context awareness stuff. I mean, the image generator. I'm mostly excited about the communication stuff, the writing stuff, because I do a lot of that. And I also enjoy using my iPad as a writing tool because it's more focused. So it's nice to have, their language model built in and also have access, easy access to ChatGPT integrated into the software or the operating system. So yeah, again, you get all of the new features, especially, or most importantly, Apple Intelligence. So you're covered, even though this is now a 3-year-old device technically. But of course, there are downsides that come with going with a 3-year-old iPad. The first one that I can think of is a degraded battery, especially if you buy it used. It's not going to have the same battery capacity, but of course you can get the battery serviced. I think for a decent price. It's probably not like that cheap, but I'm sure it's cheaper than getting a whole new, brand new iPad Pro. But you run the numbers, maybe I will, and I'll put a little note here, title, but we'll see. So yeah, used battery, but you're getting a used price. There's no warranty on a used iPad, so you're kind of out of luck there unless you snag one off Apple's website, certified refurbished, so that's possible, although it might just be the limited warranty. Next up, of course, you don't get an OLED display, which I think is the biggest deal with the new iPad Pro models beyond the thinner chassis, which definitely make a difference for the 13-inch model or if you're carrying it with the keyboard case, the new one, which is slimmer too. But yeah, I mean, that display quality is amazing, but do you really need it? No. I mean, if you want it, buy it, but if you don't need it, you're going to be saving a ton of money for a really decent display, as we discussed. You also don't get the brand new Apple Pencil Pro with the Find My feature and the pressure-sensitive menu toggle and some other UI elements that come with it. This is a nice feature, or these are nice features to have, but are they worth the extra money? A couple $100, I would say, for that? I don't know. You tell me. I mean, if you're big on the Apple Pencil and it's a big part of your workflow or you're losing it, then it might be worth going for a new iPad Air, which is also similarly priced, and you also get that pencil compatibility because of the new placement of the camera module, or the front-facing camera. That's the whole reason why they re-engineered or remade the Apple Pencil Pro, because of that change. So, if that's important to you, buy it. Otherwise, you get a decent pencil, same fit and finish and general experience, pressure sensitivity, and charging or wireless charging. You also don't get the new Magic Keyboard, which is honestly really nice. Let me pull this out here. Here we go. It's very MacBook-like. You get some, aluminum here, nicer trackpad, function keys. I mean, it's really nice, don't get me wrong, but is it worth the extra money? Maybe, especially when iPadOS finally gets a proper overhaul, or more Mac-like features, not one-to-one once again, but just more capability in that docked keyboard-esque oriented mode. Otherwise, the regular or the previous gen Magic Keyboard will definitely do you justice, and you can get one used more readily here for cheaper, way cheaper. So yeah, you still get decent keyboard accessories. You just don't get the nicest, bougiest metallic one. And last up, there's no ray tracing that you get with the M4 chip. That was also a feature brought in with the M3 chip. The new 3nm stuff can do that. So if you're big on gaming, or you're doing some Blender type stuff, 3D CAD, whatever, then going with an M4 iPad Pro might be the way to go for you, if that even makes sense, because you get that extra hardware acceleration. Otherwise, the M1 chip and even the M2 chip will again push your iPadOS experience just fine. And that brings us to the upsides here, and I'm literally going to do a live search with you here, because the first point I have is about price. Let's look up iPad Pro M1 used. Let's see here. We can go on eBay, $617 for 128 gig model. Not bad at all. Refurbished, back market, $549 for fair condition. Let's go on Swappa. This is a good site. 3rd gen, look at this. $530 for a Wi-Fi model right here. $455 for one in fair condition, $534 for good condition, $567 for mint condition. This is a 128 gig model, but nonetheless, 128 gigabytes is just enough. $636 for 256. I mean, that's a hell of a deal compared to $1,000 for a brand new 11-inch 256 gig iPad Pro. So yeah, I mean, great pricing here. That's one of the upsides. The next upside is you can sleep at night knowing you don't own an overpowered machine for no reason. That's funny, and I can't really put it any better myself, because I look at talking points and I try to spit them out conversationally. I had to read that word for word, because again, unless you have a specific workflow with a specific app where you are taking advantage of the extra RAM, of the horsepower, all that, the M1 chip is perfectly fine for you, and you really can't argue otherwise. And like I said, again, you get all of the Apple Intelligence features here in the fall and into next year. You are not being left behind, because Apple wants to get everybody on board with Apple Silicon, the new stuff. And I think that they, think that the M1 chip and above, sort of can balance the user experience and do the sort of background computation and language model stuff without sort of compromising the user experience. I'm also sure that a couple other chips could have ran the experience too, but they kind of want to gatekeep. But that's Apple. No one is surprised. But yeah, you are not being left behind at all. So, you get very little compromise here. You lack some of the features like the OLED display and the brand new chip and all that, but you're really not losing much. And I would say in my case, where I love the iPad Pro for all the things that it can do that my Mac can't, with the Apple Pencil and just sort of offering this more focused mode. I love how there's yard work going on outside, so great time to end the video. This is just enough for me. And again, if I wasn't a tech reviewer for a living, I would not own this. I would have held on to my M1 iPad Pro for a while. And I recommend you do that up until Apple decides to take the iPad Pro hardware seriously. So yeah, that is about it here. This is still a great device. If you own it, good for you. Good for you being patient or having some self-control. To those of you who bought the new M4 iPad Pro, enjoy it. It's a beautiful device, but I'm sorry that it isn't more capable than it is for now. And to all my girlies with the iPad Pro who use it, for a specific thing, you know who you are, no shade, good for you. So yeah, that about wraps this up. Hopefully this was helpful. That's all I gotta say for now. Check out my links to Anchor in the video description. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.